What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Knives at the Round Table. My name is Marco, and today we're going to be taking a look at kind of one of the newest offerings from Microtech. And this is a fixed blade. And if you know Microtech, you know they're known primarily for their autos, right? Their OTFs. And secondarily, you have like the SOCOM Elite, which are folders, but they don't venture very much into the fixed blade market. And a long time ago, I had another version of a fixed blade from Microtech called the Crosshairs, and I sold it, and I kind of regretted it ever since. And then this one I saw, and I think it recently came out. I think it's a reissue of a knife that they had issued previously, but they hadn't done it in a long time. And when I saw it, I kind of jump on it right away, because I think they're awesome knives. So let me give you a tour of the knife, and then we can get started. What you got here, so it's a fairly thick fixed blade. It feels very robust in the hand. So it's got like this kind of very dramatic. I'm guessing it's kind of a drop point, but the drop starts from way over here in the thumb jimping ramp. You've got kind of a saber grind. You've got a flat, and then it carries a pretty good ways down, and then it comes down on a small flat grind from here to the edge. You've got a switch that runs kind of the full length of this. It has a recurve, which I'm not crazy about because I just don't like recurves. You got a very large sharpening choil that it's not really a finger choil. You've got this kind of I'm not sure what it is. It's some kind of, I'm not sure if it's G10, but it feels a little different from G10. You've got the proprietary hardware from Microtech, and it comes with this paracord and very heavy lanyar bead in the back. This version of the knife is M390, and there's two versions of it. There's this one, and there's an OD green version. My previous crosser was in OD green, and I decided to kind of switch it up a little bit and get the kind of the camel version, or the tan version of the knife. Before I get too much further, let me give you some size comparisons. And here is the SC3. And as I've mentioned in some of my other knives, the SC3 is kind of the knife that I carry on my person. Whenever I'm kind of camping or those sort of thing. That's kind of the size of a knife that I would carry. It's usually in the shape of like a Cruiser of Nial or one of those. But this is kind of my belt knife kind of thing. And this is the SC5, and that's the type of knife that I keep in my camp if I have to do some heavier work, wood processing, those kinds of things. This I don't carry with me. It's a big monster of a blade at a full 1/4 inch thick. And I don't know if I mentioned the name. So this is the Microtech Currahee or Currahee. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but you can see it right there. Currahee, Currahee. It's not quite as thick as the SC5, but it is thicker than the SC3. And it's kind of right in the middle of those two. I don't have an SC4. Best guess is probably the size of an SC4. This one's a little bit shorter than the SC5. It's a little bit thinner. So there you go. That's the size comparison with the fixed blades. And if you don't have the fixed blades and you're thinking of making kind of this one your first one, that's your paramilitary 3, and this is your paramilitary 2. So in fixed blades, rarely do you see anything kind of smaller than the blade on a pair of 2. Usually fixed blades, they're harder to use knives, so you kind of have usually larger knives. So that's kind of what you've got here. So I had the opportunity, so I purchased this right before the summer, and and I had the chance to take it up to we have kind of a house in the woods, and I spent about 3 or 4 weeks with it. And I gotta tell you, I liked it a lot. I like this knife quite a bit, from the look of it, from the use of it. The recurve I don't like because of the sharpening. It's harder to sharpen, but it's very effective, especially kind of doing things like feather sticking or cutting rope, those kinds of things, because the recurve kind of draws the material. As you're pushing through it, it draws the material into the blade, so it's very effective for cutting, more so than when you've got just a straight edge. So let's start in ergonomics, and I think that the ergonomics on this are phenomenal. It's, I probably would have liked my Micarta a little bit better, but the shape of the handle, it fits my hand damn near perfect. It feels my hand really well. It feels very secure. It's very ergonomic. It feels good in several different positions. Not this position, but in the primary cutting position, especially a hammer grip or a saber grip with a thumb rub. It's a very aggressive jimping. I would have liked it a little bit less aggressive, but it's very effective, and the ergonomics feel really, really very good in the hand. My small complaint is that the screws are proud of the kind of molded plastic that you got here, so you can feel it in your fingers. You can't really feel it in the back of your hand, but in your fingers, when you close your hand around it, you can feel those. So that'd be my only complaint. But I would say that the ergonomics are a win for this this knife. Now, cutting is really, really good. Like I said, especially things like feather sticking or cutting rope or cutting leather, those kinds of things, this excelled at. It also did fairly well in batoning. It's not a huge knife for batoning. You can only baton, probably call it a 4-inch maybe. Yeah, a 4-inch stick maybe. What you got here is kind of a little bit of over a 4.5-inch blade, but because when you're batoning, you need to you have your piece of wood that you're batoning, and you need to have the tip so you can hit the tip, and so you can only do like kind of a 4-inch, but it did fairly well in batoning. So I think this is probably not a camp knife. This is probably not a woodsman's knife, but that's the use that I have for them. I don't have a tactical use for my knives. But for camp type stuff, for outdoor type stuff, for bushcraft and those sort of things, I think this knife it performed fairly well. What you got here is the fit and finish on the knife is really very good. The only thing that I don't like is that the plastic, you've got this white dot right here. You see it on the other side as well. It feels like that's where they kind of injected the plastic into a mold and then cut it off. But I think that's it just cheapens the knife. But otherwise, the feel of the knife, the fit and finish feels very good. As good as most of my fixed blades. You gotta be thinking kind of Bark River quality type of things. Maybe not quite at Bark River quality, but damn close to that. You've got a fairly robust pommel, and then you've got this. I can't tell you how heavy this bead is, and I like it a lot. Aesthetically, I think it looks really cool on the knife. It is a little bit of a problem when you're handling the knife. It's hitting you all over the place. It's really cool. I haven't removed it. I don't think I'm gonna remove it, but it is kind of a thing. Okay. Now let me talk about the sheath. So it comes with this sheath, and the sheath is very effective. It's kind of like this carbon fiber, Kydex composite kind of looking thing. and it's very effective. It really doesn't rattle. It's very secure. It doesn't fall out. You've got this tech lock type belt attachment, and you can rotate it if you want to carry it something else. It's very effective, and you know this sheath is probably a good choice for this type of knife. If you follow my channel, you know that I prefer a leather sheath on most of my knives, and that's because I use my fixed blades for camp, for wood, for the woods, for woodsman type of activities. So I prefer a leather sheath. So I'm gonna try and find a leather sheath that fits this. But these are available right now, and they're not tremendously expensive. And I would say that I would highly recommend that you get it. I would like, you know, if I'm doing the airing of grievances, there's a couple, the dots that you see there in the molded plastic, the slightest recurve. It does increase the cutting ability, but I would rather sacrifice the extra performance in cutting to be able to sharpen it, you know, on a fixed system, because the recurve is problematic for that. The scales are not absolutely flush. There's a tiny little bit of protrusion from the scale to the steel. I would like to see that a little bit more flush. But other than that, I think that this knife, I would highly recommend the knife. It cuts very well. It's very well built. I think it looks badass. I do think that there's a couple of things that could be improved. Like I said, I would change the leather sheath. But other than that, I think this is a very solid knife, and it's a very solid size. You know, usually, you know, a smaller knife is the one that I carry on my person, and the larger knife, then, you know, something like an SE5, is something that I keep in the camp. But for those conditions where you can only take one knife, you know, because of weight, or because you don't want to be, because of weight, because you don't want to be lugging around two knives or two blades or something like that, and you need something kind of in the middle, something that will, you know, do some finer tasks, but can, you know, do some heavier duty tasks. I think that's where this size comes in. The Bravo 1, the Squad Leader, all of those sizes of knives, I think are more of a jack of all trades type of knives, and this one certainly falls in that category. I think this one will stick around in my collection. I think it'll be here for a while, and I would recommend it. I think it's a pretty darn good knife, and I think you'll be very happy. It feels very solid. It feels like a tank. I think that the quality of Microtech, I wish that they bring back the crosshair and they can continue their fixed blade lineup. I think they do a good job on it, and I think with more practice or more production, they'd be even better, especially on kind of like the fit and finish of the scales. I think that worked really well. Well, guys, let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and if if this review has helped you, then like and subscribe. And until I see you on the next one, take care.